Okay, I'm going to get started this evening by just welcoming all of you guys. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This is our Sunday evening meditation where each Sunday we get together with students here in our main hall to be able to guide you in a meditation session. And then afterwards, I'll share just a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha with you. And then I'm just going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have related to the teachings of the Buddha or your meditation practice, anything that you're seeing here in Thailand that you'd like to ask questions about. You're more than welcome to ask any and all questions that you like. This individual that we refer to as the Buddha, he figured out how to get to enlightenment. What enlightenment is a mental state that you can attain in this life where your mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any discontent feelings. The mind will have eliminated the causes and conditions that produce things like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All these feelings can be eliminated from the mind through training of the mind. So that's why we share meditation with you guys as part of our teaching and part of our classes and courses and retreats. We help you guys to build up your meditation practice. So what we're going to be doing tonight is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a meditation that's going to help you to develop awareness of the mind and be able to train the mind to let go, because this is the underlying cause that's causing all these feelings. Oftentimes people think that the reason why they're experiencing these feelings is because of something external. Like you might think your mom and dad are angering you, or your brothers and sisters are frustrating you, or maybe your boss is annoying you. This isn't actually true, and I'll help you to understand that after the meditation. It's your own mind that's causing these feelings. That's why you can actually eliminate them. So this breathing mindfulness meditation is an important component of your practice to be able to get to enlightenment, but you wouldn't be able to just meditate your way to enlightenment. That's why we share teachings to be able to help you guys understand the path to enlightenment. So the way that I'm going to start our meditation is with some chanting to be able to ease into the meditation. And I see some of you guys have chanting sheets. If you'd like to chant along, you're more than welcome to. We have some in the middle of the room and there's some over there on the platform. You're welcome to help yourself to some chanting sheets. What we do is we chant in order to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. During the lifetime of the Buddha, they used chanting as a way to help the students commit the teachings to memory. Every 2 weeks, the students would come together and they would recite his teachings orally. This is how they remembered his teachings. So it was a learning tool, or as a learning device. So you can see from the origins of chanting that this isn't a rite, ritual, ceremony, worship, or prayer, or anything like that. There's none of those types of things in the teachings of the Buddha. If you're seeing those kinds of things associated with the Buddhist teachings, those aren't actually the Buddhist teachings. He never taught any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer. He taught you to actually train your mind and uproot the causes and conditions that are producing the discontent feelings. If you read the English translations of these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants for himself. They were probably created by his students either during his life or after his death. Because a Buddha wouldn't walk around and say, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me. Right? This would be ego or arrogance if somebody did this. And by the time you get to enlightenment, you've eliminated that. You don't see yourself as above people and look down on people. And you also don't put yourself below people and look up to people with such awe and admiration either. So I'm sure that the Buddha wouldn't have created these chants. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings to this peaceful and joyful mental state that is enlightenment. And this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you. They were just helping you out of the kindness of their heart. You might actually have a lot of appreciation, gratitude, or respect for that person too. So that's why I think these actually came from his students, either during his life or after his death. So if you like to chant them on the way into meditation, you'll be able to get more benefit out of the meditation itself. Once we're in the meditation, I'm going to be providing you some guidance to be able to help you understand how to meditate while we're actually meditating. So I'm essentially going to be teaching you or instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating together. Everybody here at the temple and anybody who's joining us online, we'll just all be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds, especially here in our main hall, where when we're over in our classroom, it's a lot quieter, but even over there, you're going to hear occasional sounds. Oftentimes, the mind is going to have a craving for permanence. This is what the unenlightened mind does. It craves permanence. And then when you experience impermanence, the mind doesn't like that. And that's what's causing those discontent feelings. So if you're in meditation, craving permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. So you're going to hear sounds. You're going to hear the speakers. You're going to hear maybe dogs barking, birds chirping. Maybe someone might cough or sneeze. This is all normal. You live in an impermanent world where things arise, they change, and they fade away. So if you understand that, you can be in meditation completely at ease and peaceful, because when you hear a sound, you know, like, that's the world working exactly the way it's intended to work, where things are constantly changing. This is impermanence. So there's going to be that period of time of quietness, but I'm sure you're going to hear occasional sounds. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting, and that's where I'll just share a little bit of the teachings of the Buddha and then open up to whatever questions you guys have. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times because it's kind of like having a tool belt, and you would use whichever tool you need at any given time in your journey to enlightenment. Well, most people are starting off learning in the seated position. So I'll give you guys a little bit of guidance on the seated position, but just understand what I'm sharing with you are just recommendations or suggestions. It's not a hard, fast rule. There aren't kind of rules in the teachings of the Buddha. It's not about a bunch of beliefs and following a bunch of rules. It's about finding what's comfortable for you. So what I'm going to share with you are just recommendations or suggestions, but you can find whatever works best for you, even if it's not something that I've actually shared, because it's important that the body's comfortable. Not luxurious and not painful, but in the middle where it's comfortable. So you could be on the floor, in a chair. If you're at home, you might be on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair. You can sit however you like. But if you're on the floor, you might sit with some cushions under your rear. This is going to kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross-leg position, you like to do that just lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, it can impede the circulation. It can cause pain in the lower body. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets their hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable for you, you could use it, but it's not about everybody doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here too, because of the world being impermanent. There's not just one fixed way to actually sit. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up. You might rest your hands comfortably in your lap. All of these are options for you. And the same thing for anybody who's in a chair or a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can also sit however you like. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles. But when I teach in the classroom over there, I sit in a chair with my legs crossed. So that's an option as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, it's going to help keep the mind attentive and alert during the meditation, because this is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. So having the sternum up and the shoulders back will help you to do that. Because if you're slouched like this, the mind's going to have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, the mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be erect with the sternum up and shoulders back, because not only does it keep the mind attentive and alert, but it makes it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting to ease into the meditation. You guys are welcome to join in, and then I'm going to come back in with some guidance afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakhato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato สัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังปุโตภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, Cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหะเกวาโพตังมหาเกวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเกวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหะเกวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here this evening. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. This was called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a primary form of training that the Buddha used in order to move his mind to enlightenment, but there's other things you would need too. You can't just meditate your way to enlightenment. One of the biggest myths about the life story of the Buddha is sometimes people think that he sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. And this isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that led to his enlightenment. He says it very clearly in his teachings that it wasn't instantaneous. There are certain things that you need to know and understand as part of your journey to enlightenment, and that's what the Buddha is helping you to be able to understand. He's helping you to understand the natural laws of existence. And by understanding these natural laws, your mind is cultivating wisdom of those, and now you can navigate the world more peacefully. When you don't understand natural laws and you don't understand the world that you live in, you'll struggle and you'll have difficulties. That's why when we were a child and we didn't understand the natural law of gravity, we struggled and we had difficulties. We fell down, we hit our head, we bumped our elbows, we broke our toys, we cried and cried and cried because we didn't understand the world that we lived in. And this natural law of gravity was affecting us, whether we were aware of it or not. And once we started to cultivate wisdom about this natural law, then we were able to navigate the world more peacefully and more joyfully. When we started getting older, maybe by the time we were 10, 12, 14 years old, we learned to tie our shoes a bit tight. We learned to stop being so giddy and bouncing around like a kid all the time. And we started to be able to do things like look at the surface of the sidewalk as we were walking through the world. And we took our time and kind of navigated the world more peacefully. And that's why now we can climb ladders, we can ride bicycles, we can get on airplanes and fly all over the world because we've cultivated wisdom about this natural law of gravity. We never believed in the natural law of gravity. We actually see it for ourselves. We know that it's true, right? It's right there, right? We know this with 100% certainty, with wisdom, that this natural law is real. So there's other natural laws that are affecting you, whether you're aware of it or not. And that's what the Buddha did, is he helped you to understand what these natural laws are in a way that you can learn, examine, and investigate them. You can reflect on them to independently verify whether they're true or false. And then you can practice those teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life. Because when you're experiencing anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy, this is your mind struggling because it lives in a world that it doesn't understand. There's certain pollutions in the mind that the Buddha discovered. And when he discovered these pollutions, he also discovered the tools and the techniques of how to uproot those and get them out of the mind. Oftentimes people think that these feelings are coming from something external. Like I was sharing, you might think that it's your mom and dad that are frustrating you, or your brothers and sisters are annoying you, or maybe your boss is irritating you. If that's the way you currently think, you're not understanding how the world truly works, how the mind actually truly functions. The thing that's causing these discontent feelings is the mind having craving, desire, attachment, wants, and expectations. The mind is longing, yearning. It's chasing after the objects of its affection, wanting things to be permanent. And when the mind gets what it wants or what it expects, it experiences pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. But when the mind doesn't get what it wants, it experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. These feelings are oftentimes very painful for people to experience. And this is coming from the mind itself, that the mind is craving permanence. It wants things to be permanent, but yet it lives in an impermanent world. Everything's constantly changing around you. So for example, think back to maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend that you got together with. When you guys got together, you were probably really excited and really happy about that because your mind was getting what it wanted. It wanted this new person in your life and you wanted this affection. You guys were going out to the movies, to dinner. Maybe you were having great conversations, maybe going to the park. Maybe you were even having intimate contact where you were having sex with each other. All these pleasant feelings were coming to the mind. Well, then over time, this relationship slowly deteriorated and you guys broke up. When you broke up, you might have been really angry or frustrated or sad. You might have noticed loneliness or boredom coming into the mind, or you might have started missing this person. Oftentimes people think this is love that causes this, but this isn't your love. Love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. That doesn't actually cause painful feelings. What was causing the painful feeling is the mind was craving permanence, wanting this person to be in your life permanently. As long as they were in your life, you had a certain amount of comfort. You're happy about that. But when you guys broke up, that's where the mind wasn't getting what it wanted. It was craving this permanence. And now when this person wasn't part of your life anymore, the mind experienced the boredom or loneliness or anger or sadness or other discontent feelings. You can see this also if you've had someone close to you that have died or passed away. When grandma and grandpa were alive, the mind was getting what it wanted. But when they died, the mind wasn't getting what it wanted. And the only reason why mom and dad or grandma, grandpa, brothers and sisters are dying is because they are impermanent. They are not permanent. Because they were born, they have to die, just like every single one of us. But the mind craves permanence, so the mind, when it's not getting what it wants, it experiences painful feelings. I'll give you some other examples that don't include relationships, so perhaps you can see this better for yourself. If you get really happy and excited when it's sunny outside, the mind's getting what it wants, so it's happy and excited. But when it rains, you might be frustrated or angry or irritated. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, when it goes down here, you'll get sad or frustrated or annoyed. The only thing that's happened here is change. That's it. The mind was craving permanence. And now when there's this change, the mind doesn't understand that. It doesn't like that. Think back to when we were children. We went to mommy and daddy. We were like, mommy, daddy, can I have some chocolate and ice cream? They're like, sure, here you go. Here's your chocolate and ice cream. Ah, thank you, mommy and daddy. You're the best mommy and daddy ever, right? So now the next day came around and we're like, mommy, daddy, can I have chocolate and ice cream? Yeah, sure, here you go. Ah, you're the best mommy and daddy ever. We're getting what we wanted, so we're having all these pleasant feelings. But then the third day came around and we said, mommy, daddy, can we have chocolate and ice cream? No, you can't have chocolate and ice cream today. You're the worst mommy and daddy ever, right? This is the mind having craving, desire, attachment. The mind's craving for this chocolate and ice cream to be permanent, where in reality, it's not permanent. If it was up to us when we were children, we'd have chocolate and ice cream every single day, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times a day, right? That would have been a wonderful day if we had ice cream that many times as a kid, right? But this ice cream and chocolate is not permanent, but our mind was craving for it to be permanent. And that's why our mind experienced these discontent feelings. So you need to be able to see this for yourself. I can give you example after example after example, but you need to be able to see this in your own life, because none of the teachings of the Buddha are based in belief. So think about something where you've recently been angry or frustrated or irritated or annoyed. It could have been this morning, yesterday, last week. Think about that situation with these fresh eyes. Because at the time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else for the feelings that you had. That's what the mind does in the unenlightened state. What was it that your mind was longing, yearning for? And if you would have got it, if you would have got what you wanted or expected, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get what you wanted or expected, the mind was angry or sad or frustrated. If you can't see this for yourself, let me know, because you can actually have a breakthrough to being able to see what is causing these discontent feelings. And then once you see what's actually causing them, then you can actually eliminate them. This is the very first teaching of the Buddha, where he teaches you the problem in your mind is the discontent feelings, the conditioned feelings, the mind going up and down and up and down. It's not steady. It's not stable. The cause of that problem is craving, desire, attachment, the longing, the yearning, the wanting and expecting things to be permanent when you live in an impermanent world. The third noble truth is to understand that you can eliminate your discontent feelings by eliminating your craving, desire, attachment, the longing, the yearning, the chasing after things. It's almost like an unquenchable thirst. The mind thinks something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction, so it chases and chases and chases and chases. And then the fourth noble truth, the Buddha explains to you the complete solution to this is called the Eightfold Path. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha that you learn and you practice and you gradually train your mind. And you can see your mind's actually getting closer and closer to this enlightened mental state, because there are certain situations where you're once angry and frustrated and irritated that you'll be in those same exact situations and your mind's not experiencing those feelings anymore. So you'll know it's these teachings that are actually leading to that improvement. So this meditation that we just did is a certain component of this Eightfold Path. There's more than just meditation, but this is one component of it, where you're training your mind to let go. Because that's what the unenlightened mind doesn't know how to do. It holds on. Think about that boyfriend or girlfriend that you broke up with. When you guys first broke up, you were angry and frustrated. You were lonely and bored. But at some point, your mind let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back. You were like, you know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it. And you let go. Or if she would like to move to another part of the world, so be it. And your mind let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back. But the unenlightened mind doesn't know how to let go. So this breathing mindfulness meditation, the goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Sometimes that's what people think, because every time we move off the breath, you cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. People think that maybe the goal is to be on the breath all the way through the meditation. That's not the goal of this meditation. The goal of this meditation is to notice your thoughts sooner and sooner and cut it off and let it go easier and easier. Because probably what you experienced, if this is your first time meditating, or even if you've been meditating for 6 months or a year, you might have noticed a bombardment of thoughts in your mind. It was like thought, 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 thought. Or you might have had a thought and you looked at it, you played with it, you indulged in it, and you were like 2 minutes down the road and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm meditating. Let me bring my mind back to the breath. If you had these kinds of things going on, it's completely normal. Even an enlightened being will have thoughts during their meditation. But the difference is that when they have a thought, they will notice it right away, cut it off and let it go, and bring their mind right back to the breath. And then between their thoughts, there'll be calmness and stillness and steadiness of their mind. The mind will be quieted. And then they'll have another thought. And then they'll notice it and cut it off and let it go and come back. So if you're training your mind with this breathing mindfulness meditation, it's training your mind to let go. But you need more than just this meditation. Right? So what you would like to do is train in meditation this way, where you're cutting off anything and everything, and you're building this internal mechanism in your mind to be able to cut off and let go. So now when you're walking down the street and you have an unwholesome thought that comes up, you can cut it off and let it go. you start judging someone, you start looking down on them, you start thinking of them as being a lesser person than you can cut that off and let it go. But if you're thinking about taking your mom out to lunch or out to dinner, you don't need to cut that off, right? You can call her up, give her a call, right? Maybe you'd like to take her out to lunch or dinner. That's a wholesome thought. You don't need to cut that off. So in meditation, you're cutting off everything and anything that's coming up because you're building this internal mechanism in your mind to cut off and let go. But in your day-to-day life, you're only cutting off the unwholesome thoughts. So if you like to call mom, give her a call, see how she's doing, right? But if you're thinking about punching your boss in the face, cut that off, right? You don't want to punch your boss in the face. That's going to produce unwholesome results for you. This is the natural law that the Buddha is teaching you about, is cause and effect, or action and result. When you make decisions wisely, you will experience wholesome results. We refer to this as kamma, or some people might have heard the word karma. This is the Sanskrit version of this word, where the original teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language, so we use the word kamma. That's from the Pali language. So when you make wise decisions, you experience wholesome results, or wholesome kamma. And when you make unwise decisions, you will experience unwholesome results, or unwholesome kamma. What you're experiencing is a result of your decisions. And when you lack wisdom in this natural law, you're going to tend to make unwise decisions, and it's going to produce unwholesome results for you. Oftentimes when we're growing up, we're taught to clean this body, but we're not taught to clean the mind. You might have learned how to clean this body, and you've been working on that and cleaning that all throughout your life. But if you haven't been cleaning your mind, this is why you're walking around with stress and anxiety and frustration and all these other discontent feelings, because there's more to this being than just the physical body. Right? So you might not have learned the wisdom of how to clean this mind when you were growing up. But now you're in a place that understands how to do that. That's what Thailand's all about. That's what all these temples are for, helping people to learn how to clean up the mind. And if you walked around for several days, weeks, or months without cleaning this body, you'd be very uncomfortable. And it's the same thing is true about this mind. If you don't understand how to clean up the mind, and you were walking around several weeks, years for not cleaning this mind, you'd be pretty uncomfortable. So the teachings of the Buddha are to guide you on this path of how to understand this mind, to understand the world around you, and now make wise decisions. And part of those wise decisions is cleaning up the mind. So I'm just going to stop here and see what questions you guys might have about anything that I've shared, or anything that you're seeing here in Thailand with the temples, or anything that you'd like to ask questions about. Maybe you already have a meditation practice and you have questions. Maybe you're having personal challenges like you'd like to get help with. If you'd like to ask questions, we have microphones here in the middle of the room. There's one in the front and one towards the back. Just come get a microphone, take it back to your seat. You press the gray button and the lights will come on, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, we won't be able to hear you online. And then if you would like to keep these with you, you're more than welcome to, because someone around you might have a question, or you might have more than one question. And if you could turn off the microphone when you're not using it, that way we won't get feedback through the speakers. And for those of you guys that are online, if you'd like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically and ask any and all questions that you like. So is there anybody here online that would like to ask a question? Usually it takes one person to break the ice, and then start coming rapid fire. No questions? Yeah, you have a question? Okay. Let's see if we have any online as well. Ooh, there you go.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have two very specific questions about meditation. The one is like in your guided meditation session, you told us to focus on either the sound of your breathing or the airflow through the noses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if, like, in the middle of the meditation, I couldn't feel the airflow through the noses? Like, should I switch to another anchor or another like place where I should be focusing on?
You would always like to focus on the breath, either the sound of the breath or the sensation of air, because you're not always going to be in a place where you can hear the breath. Like right now, we've got sound out here. Or let's just say you were like on a train that was making all kinds of noise, or on a boat or something on a rumbling engine. You wouldn't be able to hear perhaps the breath, but you could feel it coming over the sensation of the skin, because the breath is the present moment. Because the unenlightened mind, it wants to be in the past, or it wants to be in the future. It doesn't want to be in the present moment. So the mind's going to pull and pull and pull in all these different directions. And this post or pillar that is holding and anchoring the mind is the breath. That's the present moment. So you like to keep bringing the mind back to that breath. So either the sound of the breath or the sensation of air coming over the nose.
Hello. See, like I can feel the airflow through the skin. Like, can I switch to the sound of the breath? Does that work?
Yeah, that's what I use as the sound most frequently. 99.9% of the time I use the sound, because if you can hear it inside, the body. You can hear it with your ears. So if you focus on that sound, that is the present moment. But your mind's going to want to go to the past or the future. So that's why you pull it back to the present moment.
Okay. Thank you. So the second question is, like when I'm meditating, should I do this at like a very slow pace, or should I switch to the natural rhythm of breathing?
Mm-hmm. So when I guide people in meditation, I say develop a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Yeah. What people hear typically is just breathe the way you're currently breathing. That's not what I'm teaching. What I'm teaching is to develop a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. So I'm going to raise this up so you can hear how the breath sounds when I'm meditating. It's very slow. It's very steady. It's very consistent. So it sounds like this. There's a little gap between the inhale and exhale, but otherwise it's just a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. It's not rapid, it's not shallow, right? The length of our breath, or the volume of air that each person takes, is going to be different because of the size of our lungs are different from person to person, but the rate that we breathe, that can be consistent. So this is like a consistent rate that you would like to use, this nice, slow, gradual, steady breath. But the volume amount of air that you use is going to be different from person to person.
So like for you, like when you're doing like a nice, steady, consistent breath, it's the natural way for you, right?
That's not how I used to breathe prior to training my mind and training my body. I used to breathe very shallow. Most people usually breathe very shallow. So when I say a natural breath, what I mean is nice and slow and steady, consistent. That's what I'm describing. Natural, sometimes people, what they hear is just breathe the way you currently breathe. That's not what I'm teaching. So sometimes people need to train their breath outside of meditation. And that's what I needed to do, because I noticed that I was breathing very shallow. Yeah. So I would just sit there with my eyes open and concentrate on breathing nice and slow on the inhale. And then there was like a little gap, and then there's a nice, slow, gradual exhale. And this helps the body and the mind to calm down, because the mind's going to want to go, 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 go. That's the way the unenlightened mind works, because of its craving, desire, attachment. And what you're doing is you're trying to calm the mind down, right? So you can be consistent and deliberate in your decision making. So if your breath is very shallow and rapid, and your mind is fixated to that, your mind's going to be bouncing all over the place. But if you can slow your breath down with your mind fixated to the breath, it'll slow your mind down so that you're not just go, 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 go. Sometimes people revel in that. They think that's the way it should be, that you should run around and get a whole lot of things done. But that's not going to produce wholesome results in your life. You like to go through life nice and steady, nice and consistent, very deliberate in your decision making. That's what's going to produce wholesome results in your life. So by having your mind nice and slow and steady, you'll be able to think through your decisions better. You'll be able to implement wiser decisions, and then experience more wholesome results.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
Right. It does always take one to break the ice.
It's already on.
Okay. So when you practice breathing meditation, do you recommend breathing from like expanding from the stomach or the chest area?
So people that are talking about abdominal breathing, they're not understanding that air comes into your lungs. There's actually no such thing as abdominal breathing because it's just your stomach and there's no air there. It's coming in through your lungs. So you're always breathing into your lungs. You're not moving your stomach. People who are doing this abdominal breathing, they're actually just flexing their muscles in their abdomen, and that's what's pushing the stomach out and bringing it back in. It's not the air itself. So you'd like to breathe into the lungs, and because of that, the chest is going to naturally expand and then naturally deflate. So you don't have to do anything with the muscles here. It'll just happen naturally as part of your inhale and exhale. That way you can focus the mind on the breath itself.
So you shouldn't be trying to like put any effort towards like any exaggerated expansion anywhere.
Yeah, you just focus on the breath. If you just train the body to breathe like that, it's going to happen right in your lungs because that's where the air is coming in. You don't even have to focus on that because the body is going to do that by itself. You focus on the sound of the breath coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes, I have a question about the cravings or the search for these pleasant feelings, the ice cream and the chocolate. Like it's natural to, when you experience something pleasant, to want more of it. But so the idea is to not seek for it, but to experience it fully when it happens, when it comes to you, when you have an occasion to experience it. How does it work? Because for me, it's a struggle. Like, of course, when something feels good, I want more of it, right? So
sure. So there's something called discontentedness. This is the second universal truth that the Buddha helps you to understand. The problem in the mind is that it experiences what's called conditioned feelings, that based on some condition, there's going to be a pleasant feeling, a painful feeling, or a feeling that's neither painful nor pleasant, like uncomfortableness or shyness, right? You need to be able to see the conditioned pleasant feelings as just as much a part of the problem as the painful ones. Because if you allow your mind to get a conditioned pleasant feeling, then the painful ones are going to come right after that. What you're working towards is unconditioned happiness, unconditioned joy. But as long as you're getting conditional happiness, you can never get to unconditioned happiness. So what I mean by this is that if the mind gets happy when it's sunny outside, that means the painful feelings are waiting for you right around the corner because the sun is not permanent. So that means when you form that conditioned feeling, your happiness is not permanent. As soon as the sun's gone and it's now raining, then the mind's going to be sad or frustrated. Or if you get happy when the bank account is up here, that means when it goes down here, you'll be sad and frustrated. And even if it stays here, your happiness will go away because, like you said, you want more and more and more. That's what craving is. So what you're looking to do is get to permanent happiness, permanent joy. But you can't do that as long as you're indulging in this temporary happiness and this temporary joy. So for example, if you get a new job and you get so excited and happy with that new job, well, when you get laid off or the company goes out of business or you get fired, you'll be sad or angry or frustrated. This is the mind going up and down, up and down. So what you're training your mind to do is you're training your mind to not get excited just because you got this new job, because it's a new job. It's not permanent. So learn how to train your mind to be happy whether you have a job or you don't, right? Because sometimes people can only be happy when they're employed. And when they're unemployed, they feel maybe shameful or they feel guilty or they feel like less of a person. You would like to train your mind to be able to be comfortable no matter what, whether you're employed or not employed, whether you're working at company A or company B or company C, you can maintain your peace and you can maintain your joy. But as long as you allow the mind to get so happy and excited about this thing is not permanent. So when it changes, it will end up in the painful feelings. So there's a whole path. It takes about 2.5 hours for me to teach it. And I teach it at least once a month. I usually teach it even more than that. And it's been recorded many times. It's on our YouTube channel, on our podcast. It's in our books, audio books. I give all this stuff away for free to help people to be able to get access to it. And you can learn this Eightfold Path because it's more than just meditation. But that's what that meditation's doing, is it's building your mindfulness or awareness of mind and the ability to cut off and let go. So now when you get that new job and you see the pleasant feeling starting to arise, because it's going to start as a bodily sensation, you can cut that off and let it go and be like, nope, not going to let you experience that. And if you can train your mind to do that over a long-term period where it's not getting conditional pleasant feelings, you will then experience unconditioned happiness. No matter what, if it's sunny outside, you can be happy. And if it's raining outside, you can still be happy, right? That's why now you can be happy if you have ice cream, but you can be happy when you don't have ice cream too. But as a child, we couldn't do that because we had craving, desire, attachment. But at some point, our mind let go. We were like, you know what? If we have chocolate and ice cream, that's fine. And if we don't, that's fine too. And the mind let go. So that's why you can be happy now, whether you have ice cream or not. Whereas a child, we couldn't do that. So your mind in the unenlightened state has a whole mountain of these cravings, desires, attachments. The mind's craving permanence. So for example, if like mom and dad are healthy, you might be happy. But if they get sick or they got in a car accident, you might be sad. This is the mind craving permanence. I want them to be permanently healthy, right? That's what the mind wants. Even this body, when your body's sick, you might think, I want to be happy. Or I'm sorry, I want to be healthy. And now when this body is sick, you'll be angry or frustrated or sad or something like that, not understanding that of course you're sick because this body is not permanent. So you can train your mind when you're noticing the pleasant feeling, the conditioned pleasant feeling arising, you can cut it off and let it go. And then you actually protect your mind because now you can be happy regardless of what's happening. So you can even get to the point where someone close to you could die and you can maintain your happiness. You can maintain your joy. That sorrow, that grief, that displeasure, that you don't have to experience that, right? And sometimes people think that that's coming from love again. And they think like, how could you be happy if your mom dies? Well, you're not happy because your mom died. You're happy despite the fact that she died. Even though she died, the mind understands she's impermanent. So therefore she was alive, but now she's dead. And you understand, the mind understands. It's not craving permanence. So there's a lot of work that the mind needs to do. And that's why the Eightfold Path is the complete perfect plan to be able to help you understand how to do that. These are Buddhist mics. You just need to be patient with them. Once you press the button, it takes about 2 seconds for them to engage, and then you can talk.
Thank you. I think there's also a bit of fear of letting go of that feeling of excitement or pleasure. So it's easier a bit when it's about the bad feelings. Like, okay, yes. I decide to let go. But when it's good, it's like, why would I let it go?
Yeah. I can assure you that the unconditioned happiness is much better than the conditional happiness. And see, this is the mind, that fear that you're having, that's coming from craving because the mind wants these conditional pleasant feelings to be permanent. And just the thought of not having that anymore, the mind has fear. If everybody could taste and experience these qualities of enlightenment just for a brief period, the mind would be able to understand what this mental state is like. And then you'd be working your way towards it and not allowing anything to stand in your way of getting towards it. Because not only do you eliminate craving, desire, attachment to eliminate those discontent feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others, but by the time you get to enlightenment, your mind's focused. You have concentration, clarity, and deep memory. Your personal and professional relationships are blossoming. They're at ease because you don't have bitterness and harshness and hostility in your mind anymore. So since you're not putting that back, that's not coming back to you any longer. You don't even have a bad mood by the time you get to enlightenment. So in the unenlightened state, people will hold on to these temporary pleasant feelings, but because of that, their mind doesn't experience the permanent peace and the permanent joy that you can experience in the enlightened mental state. But if people could taste that just for a moment and see what it's like, they would let nothing stand in their way of working towards that through wise decision making. Yeah, you're welcome. Other questions? Yes, sir. We have a microphone back there, and we also have one up front, right there in the middle of the floor.
Thank you for the session. So I have a question on the desire part. Sometimes desire gives us the motivation to work or the direction to do some things. So if we are devoid of desire divide off these attachments, how will one get the direction or the motivation or the, how to say this, like
Sure. Let me help you understand. If you could turn that off, because we'll get feedback through the live stream. So first, make sure you understand what a craving, desire, attachment is. This is the mind longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of its affection, thinking that the next new shiny object waiting around the corner is going to provide some kind of lasting satisfaction. So the mind chases it and chases it and chases it. It's kind of like the mind thinks, I don't feel good here. What do I need to feel better? More money. That'll fix everything. Let me chase some more money for a while, right? And then if you get what you want, you're happy. And if you don't get what you want, you're sadder, angry, or frustrated. Then the mind's like, what do I need to feel better? A new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me get one of those. And now the mind will chase after that. And again, if you get one, you'll be happy. And if you don't, you'll be upset or frustrated or lonely or some other feeling. Then the mind's like, I know what I need to feel better. I'm going to go to Thailand. That'll fix everything. Let me go to Thailand. And now the mind goes and does that, right? So the mind is chasing. And what the unenlightened mind does is it will use that for motivation. It will chase after things. That's where one will put a lot of pressure on yourself to perform at work or to get more money or get a bigger house or a nicer car. You'll put a lot of pressure on yourself. But when those cravings burn out, you'll feel unmotivated and unenthused because it'll burn out. So if you're chasing a certain goal for 2 or 3 or 4 years, you'll either get your goal and be happy about it, or eventually you'll just be like, I don't even want to do that anymore. And you'll feel unmotivated to do it. Your mind will swing all the way to the other side where you feel dull and lethargic and maybe even lazy and mundane. Neither of these two extremes is what the Buddha is teaching you. This is what the unenlightened mind can see very clearly, is the chasing or the dull, lazy, complacent, lethargic condition. There's this middle way where you can gradually work towards your goals through wise decision-making. And you can do this in a sustainable way, long-term for the rest of your life. Because if you keep chasing your cravings, desires, attachments, you can only be happy when you get what you want. And then ultimately that craving is going to be extinguishing. It's going to burn out. And that's where you will feel burned out because you've been chasing for so long. Or again, over here where you're dull and lethargic, that's not going to produce beneficial results in your life either. But if you can bring your mind to the middle, where you gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests with enthusiasm, with ambition, with dedication and diligence, you can actually do this for the rest of your life. But the mind doesn't know how to do that. That's why it chases with craving, desire, attachment. So these wise decisions that you can work towards accomplishing your goals, if you're working towards your goal and you're 80% of your way there, you can look at it and say, 80% of the way there, what should I do here? Well, I can extend my timeline. I can give myself more time. That's an option. Or I can put more resources towards this, and that's going to help me to accomplish this goal. Or you know what? I'm completely fine with the 80%. That's fine. I'll just be fine with this. But oftentimes people are using this word goal, but it's not actually a true goal. If you have a goal, and if you get your goal, you're happy. And if you don't get your goal, you're sad or frustrated. That's not actually a goal. That's a craving, desire, attachment. That's the mind chasing, longing, yearning. A true goal is something that you can work towards. And whether you accomplish it or not, you can maintain your peace and you can maintain your joy. So look at someone like the Buddha, 35 years old. He gets to enlightenment and he spends the next 45 years until he dies at the age of 80 sharing his teachings. Right? His very last words was an actual teaching that he was delivering to his students. So he was able to teach for 45 years, never contradicting himself. He was able to teach and sustain that ability to teach over the remaining portion of his life. And it never burned out because he was doing it through wise decision-making. And he had a goal. His goal was for his teachings to reach the entire world, but he knew it wasn't going to be during his lifetime. So he needed to keep working towards this goal, even though he knew it wasn't going to happen during his lifetime. So this is something that you can do if you train your mind to understand what craving, desire, attachment is the longing, yearning, and the chasing, understanding that this is detrimental and dangerous to your mind because ultimately those are going to burn out and you're going to be unmotivated anyway. And you can bring your mind to the middle, training it to pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making. And this is sustainable and something you can do long term through your wise decisions rather than chasing, or rather than being dull and bored and lonely or lethargic or complacent over here. And that's what the training is, to be able to help you do that. I think you said thank you, right? Yeah, I didn't hear it through the mic, but I understand. You're welcome. Pleased to help you. Any other questions you guys have? Yes, back there in the back. Yep. We have microphones here.
Hi. My question was regarding the feedback. Regarding the instructions on cutting off thoughts when they come up in meditation. Mm-hmm. And I believe a couple of weeks ago you contrasted that to this idea of noticing thoughts or acknowledging thoughts, or I guess these other approaches. And I'm just really curious where this approach of cutting thoughts off comes from, because there seems to be contradiction just in popular meditation instructions about just what approach to take.
Yeah, what you're going to hear from a lot of people is you're going to hear them say to observe the thought or welcome the thought in and make friends with it. If you could turn off your mic, you're just getting a little feedback. Or welcome the thought in and observe it. This isn't what the Buddha taught. If you look in his original teachings, he teaches you to cut off and let go. And this is part of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, is part of the Eightfold Path, and it's part of the right effort where you're cutting off and letting go. Training the mind with this internal mechanism. You're not suppressing your feelings and you're not repressing them. You're essentially effectively training the mind to not have that conditioned feeling. Could you just check your mic? I think your mic's still on. That's why we're getting all this feedback. Yeah, if you just turn it off, that'll help you, because I'll explain the rest of this for you. But that way the people online will be able to hear. Okay. You guys got it? Sounds like we're still getting a little feedback. Just tap the mic, see if it's still on. Okay, I think we got it now. Okay, so when the mind's forming a feeling, it's based on some condition, that you have some contact that's coming through your eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and then the mind itself is experiencing some contact. So say, for example, you're sitting at a traffic light and someone pulls up to you with some really good music that you typically listen to. And you have a craving in your mind that you really like this music. Maybe it's hip hop or rap or heavy metal. I don't know, whatever you like, right? You're like, all right, that's my jam. All right, let's dance. You're hearing a sound through the ear and it's triggering a craving in your mind. And now that's your jam. Yay, I'm so excited. Now I'm going to get all these excited thoughts and all these excited feelings because of that sound. But now you pull up to the next traffic light and you hear a different type of sound. Now someone has a different type of music. And because of your craving, the mind experiences painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. It's not the person in the car who's causing that. And it's not the music that's causing that. It's inside the mind. It's called sensual desire. The mind is longing, yearning for agreeable contact. And it wants contact to be agreeable permanently. And it can only be happy when it gets agreeable contact. And when it gets disagreeable contact, it experiences painful feelings. So as long as you allow the mind to form the feeling, it's going to continue to stay wired that way. So what the Buddha teaches you to do is when you're noticing the bodily sensations arising prior to the feeling, that you cut it off and let it go. So if you notice when that music pulls up next to you, whether it's pleasant or painful, when you're noticing that bodily sensation, like something with anger, it might be tingling in the body, tightening in the chest, tightening in the throat, heat in the face, pressure in the skull. When you're noticing this, this is the early warning system alerting you that you're about to experience a feeling. And the Buddha teaches you to cut it off and let it go. So those bodily sensations is like, I'm about to get a conditioned feeling. I'm about to get a conditioned feeling. I'm about to get a conditioned feeling. And you say, nope, not going to let you do that. And when you cut that off and let it go, you've protected the mind. You've preserved the mind. You've protected your contentedness and your joy. It's kind of like if you were driving in a boat from Canada to the UK and you were out in the middle of the sea, you'd like to prevent the water from ever coming into the boat. Because once the water comes into the boat, you've got a real problem to deal with. You got to get it out. So the same thing is true, is once you allow the conditioned feeling into the mind, now you've got to get it out. And the mind's continuing to stay wired this way to form the conditioned feeling. So if you're in meditation, welcoming the thoughts in, observing the thoughts, making friends with the thoughts, playing with the thoughts, you're not training that internal mechanism to cut off and let go. So that in your day-to-day life, when you're noticing these qualities coming up in your mind, then you can cut off and let go. But if you're not training that way, if you're doing what the vast majority of the world is misunderstanding about the teachings of the Buddha, then you're not going to be able to train to cut off and let go. This is why it's so important to study with the original words of the Buddha. The vast majority of the world doesn't study with his original teachings, but you can see it very clearly in his teachings. What he's teaching you to do is cut off and let go so that you can now train your internal mechanism in the mind to be able to cut off and let go. So you're not allowing the mind to form that conditioned feeling. And by training your mind to not form the conditioned feeling, now you can be happy all the time. Whether there's music that you particularly care for or music that you don't care for, you can be peaceful and joyful no matter what. You understand it's an impermanent situation. You walking down the street and you smell some flowers coming out of the flower shop and you're like, wow, that is such a wonderful odor. Wow, that is so nice. But now you walk a couple more steps and you smell the sewer. There's the sewer. Let's keep walking, right? You don't have to be repulsed by it. But if you're noticing that repulsion or those conditioned pleasant feelings, you've got to cut off and let go, because you'll never get to the peace and joy where you can have unconditional happiness as long as you allow your mind to have conditional feelings. If you keep allowing the mind to stay trained that way, where it's continuing to form that conditioned feeling, you'll never be able to cut off and let go. So that's why the Buddha is teaching you this, is to cut off and let go, because now you get discipline and control over your mind. Where in the unenlightened state, there's no control, there's no discipline. That's why the mind gets angry, why it gets stressed and anxiety, because this person doesn't have control over the mind. You would like to get to the point where the person is able to control the mind, rather than the other way around, where the mind is controlling you. Any other questions you guys have? No questions? Okay. I don't see anything online either. So what I'm going to do is just end by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn the teachings of the Buddha. If you guys would like to learn more, you're more than welcome to. We have lots of opportunities like classes, courses, and retreats. They're all available at no cost. In fact, tonight at 9 p.m. over in our classroom, we have a meditation and a class where I'm going to be teaching the misunderstandings of the teachings of the Buddha, because there's so many misunderstandings out there in the world that the vast majority of the world doesn't study with the original words of the Buddha. So I'm going to share with you guys why these misunderstandings came about, and I will share with you 9 of the more common misunderstandings that you're going to see in the world. And by understanding the misunderstandings, it actually helps you to understand what are the true teachings of the Buddha. So I'm going to be starting that at 9 p.m. Our classroom is just over there. You'll see where the lights are. You're welcome to come in. We have air conditioning. We have nice cushions. We have all kinds of things over there, nice and comfy. So you guys are welcome to come on over if you like. And then we have on Wednesdays in our classroom, we have meditation, where I'm going to be doing meditation and opening up the questions like I did today. So that's at 9 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So thank you all for joining, and perhaps I'll see you guys at one of our future events. You can check our website, and you'll see all the different options that we have. So whatever you choose to do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your evening. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.